really good stuff there from our friend Sam McEwen from the Omaha
There's a
World Herald.
lot in there.
There's a lot in there. So we were talking about this in-state recruiting thing, right? And Coach Rhule brought it up. He said, hey, you can't serve two masters, right? The only thing that matters at Nebraska is winning games. And then you kind of deal with the rest of it. Now, if you can win games with in-state guys, then you'll be a god and a legend and everybody will love you forever. But you're not that far below that if you just win games with whoever. Like, let's be honest about it. You're not that much below legend status if you just win games at all, especially after what Nebraska's been through over the last however many years. But, so I got to thinking about it, and you're more well-versed on kind of this era of in-state guys than I am in terms of guys that you sort of played with in high school and against in terms of Division I talent. But, of course, being who I am, I went Miller North guy, right? Because that's what I'm familiar with. And I go, okay.
So the Seth Olsons, the Shadas, the Tarps.
Yeah, so all those guys. And
as in Tarpinian.
Who all ended up being really good football players at Iowa, by the way. And Iowa was better than Nebraska during that time period. But I went even further back because those guys, you did get pushed back on not getting them, right? Seth Olson was committed to Nebraska at one point. Solich got fired. He decommits. He ends up going to Iowa. Shada, I don't think ever had a Nebraska offer, neither did Tarpinian. But
okay. Because, the best and clearly the most famous was well before that.
Who's that?
Gale Sayers.
Sure. Yeah. Gale Sayers is a great example. But there was one. No, go ahead. Go ahead on Gale Sayers.
Well, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yes, absolutely.
He was, when healthy, was one of the best players in all of.
Yeah, of all time.
Of all time.
Just he's a GOAT when healthy.
So, clearly this wasn't like the first.
No, this is a thing that's existed forever.
Forever. Even when I was coming out of high school and before that, guys were going to other schools, right? Wyoming had stock. Like there were a lot of good players. I remember Paul Wallace, a guy that I wanted to be like at Northwest, going to Wyoming. Jay Novacek.
You want to know?
Went to Wyoming, and I'm pretty sure he had a pretty good NFL career, right?
You want to know why people don't think of Gale Sayers, though, besides the fact that it was a long time ago?
Why?
What was Nebraska's record, 1962, 1963?
They were losing. They was a losing program.
No, Nebraska wasn't.
Oh, I thought you meant Kansas.
No. What was Nebraska's record?
Were they playing 8 games?
They were playing 11.
In those 3 years, so I'm going 62 to 65.
62, 63, 64.
Nebraska won 28 games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
9-2, 10-1, 9-2.
How about that, Shane?
Pretty good.
Shane.
That's why nobody talks about Gale Sayers.
Spot on, right?
Yeah, you can do your arithmetic.
Do you know how good that was?
That was
what
really
I
good.
Just did?
Yeah. I'm very impressed. Give me a little.
Thank you.
So that's why nobody.
We're out here.
That's why nobody talks about Gale Sayers because they were 9-2, 10-1, 9-2. You know another guy they don't talk about? The Miller North guy I was talking about, a guy that actually made an NFL roster. So he had pretty good.
I know who you're talking about.
Who?
Nick DeLuca.
Nope, before him. Your era.
Ooh.
He gets forgotten about because the guy that came after him was a lot better.
Todd Doxson.
Todd Doxson didn't go to Nebraska. He went to Iowa State.
I just saw Dox, yeah.
He was a starter.
Yep.
At Iowa State.
Really good.
Made the Dolphins in 98.
We played against him.
That's a dude that went to Iowa State. Now, Iowa State wasn't very good at the time, but it's 93, 94, 95, 96. Guess why nobody cared that Todd Doxson didn't go to Nebraska?
Because we were playing for championships.
Because Nebraska was a wagon.
Yeah.
Right? That's a guy, talent-wise, probably could have played for Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
He made an NFL roster.
Yeah, dude was legit.
He was on a bunch of practice squads. He played in AFL for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dude that was a good football player. Mm-hmm. He could have played for Nebraska. He probably would have won championships with Nebraska.
He was legit.
If we're being real. Like, if you, not taking anything away from T. Fraze or Scott Frost as a player or anything like that, but if you plug and play, you're probably not getting a huge drop-off to a guy that got paid to play football for a living as a quarterback. Like, that's a good quarterback. Nobody cares.
I'm not going to diminish. Frost he's an amazing high school athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, it's big, strong, fast. But like as a natural runner
Dox was probably better.
of the option,
Yeah.
I mean, Dox was the guy.
Yeah. And he was a pretty good passer.
Just the natural. He was so smooth as a ball handler, and his play. Like Dox was nice.
That's my point though, right? When Nebraska's winning, a Todd Doxson can go out of the state and go play against Nebraska, and it doesn't really matter. Gale Sayers is a great one. That's one of the best running backs in the history of football. He goes somewhere else, and guess what? Nebraska wins 28 games over the course of 3 years, so no one cares that Gale Sayers played somewhere else.
Yeah.
It never gets brought up. I've never heard.
You know what I think it is, though?
What's that?
I think so. Kobe brings up a point. I don't know if that's it or not.
Okay.
He talks about these guys not having Nebraska offers.
Some of the guys at Iowa State now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if that's it, but do you know what I do think it is?
What's that?
That you don't want those guys to go and be great someplace else.
Yes.
Until or if Nebraska isn't going to be doing what?
Unless Nebraska's winning.
Winning.
Because we saw it with like
I'll tell you,
Harrison.
You want to know what Phil Snow said?
What's that?
Phil Snow said this about Darian Jones. Darian Jones is the guy that'll say yes to Iowa State and lead the nation in interceptions, and we'll be mad. Don't let that happen.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
No, it is 100% a thing.
And he probably picked the wrong Iowa school.
Sure. And Darian did get his Nebraska offer.
Because they're Iowa through and through.
Yeah, it's a big Iowa family. Yeah. Stunning that Donovan is here, actually.
It kind of is.
Right. I mean,
his dad. We've gone round and round about, but D-Rock, he was never really a hater. He just was. He's pro Hawkeye.
He was just an Iowa guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, rocks in the yard, the flags. Yeah. I mean, he spends a fair amount of time. I mean, he would go with Cluster to like Iowa City. Like, I mean, he's an Iowa guy.
Yeah.
But he loves his kids more.
Sure.
so
Donovan's a Nebraska guy. He's a Nebraska guy.
Yeah, right.
Like, no, I get it.
So but like that's what you have to think about. Can this guy? Is this a? And we have to think about this as a fan base. I think. Does this guy have the potential to come back and bite us in the rear end? Sometimes I think you have to think like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think it comes up?
So I do think it comes up, but
or you think that's too linear?
It might be a little too linear. I do think it's something you have to consider.
Like that's the first thing I thought of when I thought of Bramer.
Because I do think that's how
I'm like Ben Bramer is sensational.
In the first couple classes, I do think he thought that way a little bit with some of his in-state offers.
Yeah.
With hey, we're gonna offer this guy.
Oh, I know you're gonna okay. I'll let you lay it out because you're gonna end up being right. I should take this back.
I think there's multiple guys. There's a couple guys in particular that I'm thinking about that they're like, hey, if we don't go hard after this guy, the perception of it, if they end up being good somewhere else, is going to kill us. And especially early on, you kind of have to get out in front of it to make sure people understand. And that's part of. I don't know if you always say he's kind of crazy like a fox sometimes. That's
he 100% is.
That's part of the making you feel like a Nebraska guy to Nebraskans is caring about the thing we produce. And with football, part of that's the in-state talent. So going and get some of those guys, even if you're like, hey, I don't know if they're a great fit, but we have to go get them because they're clearly power conference capable. And if we start off on this foot, it's going to be hard to recover from. And now that you've got sort of I don't want to call it a built-in excuse, but I will, with the 105 to say, we just don't have the roster spots to make some of those offers, it gives him an out if he doesn't think a guy's a good fit or if he doesn't necessarily see the natural place for them.
You know what I thought you were going to say?
What's that?
Maybe he doesn't think like that because he's confident that they'll win.
So I think that's where he's at in general. I do think on the front end, he was very aware of the perception of needing that to be positive in the way he viewed the state and the state's talent.
Yeah,
I think somebody
he can't go back and get it. But I've told you this, and I've listened to him talk to some people that I'm extremely close to.
Mhm.
Right. I know what the conversation was with he and DJ.
Mhm.
Rizak.
Yeah.
Like I know. It was a couple of long phone conversations, a lot of mutual respect. And I tell you one thing, and Sam talked about it, and I think it's critical. And I would say this to guys in state. He never wants to be in the position where he has to rely on somebody else's information that he's inheriting.
Sure.
He does not ever want to have to go, and he won't here.
Yeah.
Go back to, okay, who's the list again? Who's on your guys' list?
But early,
He had to.
because you're behind the 8 ball, you're trying to catch up.
He had to.
So maybe you get bad intel on a Teddy Rizak.
And he said to me,
Or an Anthony Rizak, if you're one of my guys.
this will never happen to me again.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
Like it bugged him.
Teddy Rizak was a miss. That was a miss.
It bugged him.
Yeah.
And so.
And there's a difference, and I think to Kobe's point, there's a difference between, hey, Nebraska went full in and the guy chose somewhere else versus Nebraska missed their shot.
Yeah.
Like that is a difference.
And it's hard too because, I love Braylon Warren.
Mhm.
I loved his dad first.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's my dude.
Yeah, you go way back with the family.
They still want to see Braylon throw at camp.
Yeah.
And
if that's not something they get to see, he's not going to get an offer.
It's just hard.
Like, it's pretty simple, right?
So I like the conviction and the steadfastness in one hand, but I also don't. I'm human, right? Sometimes it's just hard for me to separate, guys, and I want to work both sides, right?
Yeah, because obviously you're for the university, and you're for Coach Rhule.
Yeah.
But you're also very much for
young people,
especially kids in this state getting good opportunities.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that's one of the things that, as much as I, get and it's earned, but this reputation of I don't really care about kids or whatever, I do want the best for them. I don't want to have to be responsible for it. But in a vacuum, I want, if for no other reason, I like Omaha and I like Nebraska and I like being from here. So I want us represented well. And one of the ways that happens is by guys going out and being successful.
And I don't know how else to say this, except for it's not a dog and pony. The camp thing isn't a dog and pony show,
which they have been in the past, right? That's part of the problem,
and they have to get over.
That's part of the problem.
We got to get over that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just has to happen organically. I can't say
there's no magic switch that you can flip and say, "Hey, we're no longer."
But do you know what I
nonsense.
think is? You know what I think is really, really paramount. I think this staff wants kids that want to be here. And how do you show that you want to be here?
Show up to camp.
That's part of the deal.
And it's a pretty easy.
And it's okay. It's okay. If I'm Braylon Warren and I'm that talented, and
you don't feel like you have to, then that's fine. You probably won't end up at Nebraska.
I'm cheering for him, and I think he's okay with that.
Yeah, and if everybody's cool with it, that's fine.
And I think so. That's the thing.
Yeah, as long as everybody understands the situation, and are cool with it, it's okay.
So the Jet Tamala thing was rearing its ugly head. Oh, look at all these offers, and I'm like, guys, this isn't a Jet versus Dayton thing. It's this guy appears to really want to be here thing. And so that's where they're going to put their resources.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not valued. It's
because all else is equal, you're going to go with the guy that really wants to be at Nebraska.
And I do think one thing that sticks in this staff's craw a little bit is the pressure that I think some guys feel to have to perform if you stay here.
Like for in-state guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for the Malachi Colemans of the world, right? You end up answering an inordinate amount of questions about Malachi that if it was any other out-of-state kid, you'd talk about development and it's a process.
Yeah.
And,
now, because he was fairly highly touted, you'd still get some of it, but not to the same degree.
And he played as a freshman.
He played super early,
right?
Yeah. And he had some flashes.
But he was forced to play. Didn't mean he was ready to play.
100%.
So when you play your first year and then you're a redshirt candidate your second year, and you're having to walk around that city, comes with a fair amount of scrutiny.
You mean like Riley Van Poppel did?
Yeah.
But again,
Like,
it's easier for Riley Van Poppel in that situation not being from here.
I always bring him up because he was very open about it. But sit down and talk to Josh Banderas sometime about what it was like.
Super highly recruited guy.
Being in state and just having to answer to it every day. I told this to Caleb. It takes, and he has the worst last. Like, he's got the double jinx.
Sure.
Right? He's got me as your knucklehead. Like, you have to be able to endure that. And you have to be built to answer the questions of why. Right? So his old man couldn't handle it. So he gets off the air. He's built for this, though.
Yeah. And he's going to make your life a lot easier if he's good.
I said that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Let's not sugarcoat it, right? My job's a lot easier if he holds up his end of the deal.
Yeah.
He knows that, but that's not his burden to bear.
No, it's not.
So,
but you get that with a lot of in-state guys, even if they don't have a public-facing parent.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm Caprice Keith and I know, like, I mean, there's a lot of guys.
It's way easy. Listen, I'm not saying these guys are taking the easy way out because I don't think that's the case, but it is an easier way to start at Iowa State. And I don't mean start in terms of starting on the field. I mean to start your career at Iowa State where you remove some of those external factors than it is in Lincoln.
Yeah.
It's just easier. And listen, there's something to be said for putting yourself in the best position to be successful.
Because ultimately that's what it is.
And sometimes removing those external factors helps you be successful.
You know,
I think that's a real thing.
So you know, the reason, and listen, Jet he didn't drill us. Jet was, I have a different amount of respect for Jet because of how he operated under duress against us than I do
other people,
almost anybody else. Because I've seen other people
wilt
and wet the bed.
Yeah.
Okay. He did not.
No, I like Jet a lot, actually.
But I hate the comparison of Jet and like Dayton, for instance, because do you think Dayton has to camp at Nebraska?
No.
But Dayton does camp at Nebraska.
At least twice that I'm aware of.
So, like, you have to start there. Like, who really wants to be here?
Yeah.
Because whether it's a bias or not, the closer you are to me and the less attention you pay to me,
the worse it is.
The worse it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Isn't that how people work?
Absolutely.
So the closer you are to Nebraska,
and the less
attention you pay to Nebraska,
absolutely.
Like, you don't think that matters to them?
It absolutely does.
But we never talk about that.
Not from the other way around.
We
talk about it for Nebraska, right?
It's a two-way street.
Like we talk about it with, especially previous staffs, not as much this one, but previous staffs. If they don't pay enough attention to an in-state guy, we get on them, right? We get so annoyed, and myself included. I'm not hating on that because there's been a lot of guys that I think Nebraska hasn't paid enough attention to in the past that I think should get attention. I did it with Anthony Rizak pretty publicly because I think that the kid's a really good football player that could help a power conference football team.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, you're not paying enough attention to this kid. You're not. I didn't think anybody was paying enough attention to that kid. He ends up at Notre Dame and is over there with his brother. But I sit here and I go, okay, if we are going to hold Nebraska to that standard, we also need to hold the athletes to that standard as well.
I mean, nobody's been good enough. And like, nobody's been good enough, in my opinion. I think I can say this. This is weird because my kid didn't camp. But I told him 15,000 times, hey, man, you might want to go camp. I'm good. Hey, man, you might want to go camp. You know.
How much of that was a basketball thing, though, too?
All of it.
Yeah. So I think that's more understandable.
All of it.
If you're like a
no.
Okay.
No, not, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm afforded the revisionist history to not tell the truth if I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because no one would know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you the truth.
I appreciate that.
I want to kill him.
Sure.
I'm like, you play 55 tournaments.
Miss
You
one.
can miss one.
Sure.
Right? When you're in Indianapolis for this huge tournament, I understand. You have an invite-only camp to Notre Dame. You don't think you should go? Or
Because he didn't camp anywhere, right?
Stanford.
Okay.
Which was weird.
It's a weird pick.
And they offered.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like.
But that's the only place he camped?
Yes.
And his recruitment was a little different probably because of that. Because of the lack of camping.
I mean, yeah, but for whatever the reason, he just kept picking up offers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, but I hope you can say yes. Right? Like, these are real conversations. Ravi, it was killing me. And so I'm not going to say nobody's good enough to where they don't have to, but you at least have to be like, hey, I'm interested. This is a place I want to be. Because the reverence, and this is where the secret sauce is, the reverence that those guys have about being there.
The coaching staff?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to at least meet them halfway because they want you to think as much of that place as they do. And because that's really the only way you're going to make it.
And that right there.
I'm just telling you, like, it's hard to hang in there.
Yeah.
If you ask these guys any sort of truism, these guys come back. Ask Donovan, RVP. Ask Caleb and Marquise Buford. If you don't love being here and love what you do, it's next to impossible to function at a high level. Because what you're asked to do on the day-to-day, you want to say to yourself, why can't you just do what you're asked? Just do it.
Just do what you're told.
You ain't committed enough.
So what you said about the coaching staff there is, as much as anything, if I really boil it down to what I love about Coach Rhule, it's the fact that he is the first Nebraska coach in my life, maybe the first coach of any in-state sport in my life that thinks as much about the place as I do.
Yeah.
Coach Mack is probably close. I don't know him personally enough to say that. He's probably the only one that's even in the discussion, but Coach Rhule is the one guy I can say for sure loves Nebraska as much as I do.
I'll give you one other for sure.
Who's that?
And it's just because I know him. Coach Cook.
Sure. Coach Cook.
Like, that dude
loves
Nebraska.
That's a secret sauce.
And so I don't know how to tell kids that because you can't. One of the things I'm very afraid of, I even do this with my own kids. I can't tell you who to love. I can't tell you what to love. I can't make you. We've all been in relationships where you try to make somebody love you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to let it just happen. And if they don't, they don't. And if they do, you give yourself a chance. But I'm not going to be mad at you if a kid might say to me, I love Nebraska like that. That's cool.
Don't come here then, though.
Yeah. And I'm okay if they don't.
But
even though I think
I
think they could help.
Yeah. But if you don't love Nebraska like that, don't come here.
It's hard.
Because it's going to be too hard.
It's hard.
That's going to be too hard.
Again, go back and find that Kirby Smart interview. A guy that you said, you worded it nicely, had it figured out.
He did.
Right? He had mastered the first portion of that system.
And then the rules changed.
And my man is like, this is not, we can't even practice to Georgia standards.
Yeah.
I'm like,
maybe there's hope.